Marami pong mga pamilya ngayon sobrang na-challenge because there's a lot of brokenness among families. And one of the reasons, one of the greatest, if not, is womanizing among married men. Sino po ba dito ang mga married men? Will you raise your hands? Raise your hands. Yan. Ay, kaway-kaway nyo nga itong makita natin. Yan. Marami mga married men, married women, and of course all the children who are products of such unions. Womanizing can be a very perilous and costly enterprise. Ang atin pong pag-aaral ngayon, for everybody. But the topic is, when a married man womanizes. Ano nangyayari pagka ang mga lalaking may asawa na ay gumagawa pa ng mga hindi dapat? Let us read a very interesting lesson. Medyo mahaba-habang reading. But I want you to read diligently, intently, and get the word's message for us. Genesis 20, verses 1 to 18. Now Abraham moved on from there into the region in the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. For a while he stayed in Gerar, and there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. But God came to Abimelech in a dream one night and said to him, "You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman." Now Abimelech had not gone near her, so he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Did he not say to me, 'She is my sister'? And didn't she also say, 'He is my brother'? I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands." Then God said to him in a dream, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now, return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all yours will die." Early the next morning, Abimelech summoned all his officials, and when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham in and said, "What have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should not be done." And Abimelech asked Abraham, "What was your reason for doing this?" Abraham replied, "I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she is really my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother. And she became my wife. And when God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, 'This is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother.' Then Abimelech brought sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah, his wife, to him. And Abimelech said, 'My land is before you. Live wherever you like.' To Sarah he said, 'I am giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. This is to cover the offense against you before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated.' Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his slave girls, so they could have children again. For the Lord had closed up every womb in Abimelech's household because of Abraham's wife, Sarah. And may the Lord add blessings to the reading of this very interesting story. Ito pong si Abraham at si Sarah ay mag-asawa na naglalakbay-lakbay sa iba't ibang dako. Dinadala sila ni Lord dito, doon. Although an interesting and a cultural thing about their marriage is they are half brothers and sisters. At sa kanila noon ay hindi yun bawal nung panahon na yun. Ngayon, itong si Abraham natatakot na baka may magandahan sa kanyang asawa. Patayin siya para makuha yung kanyang asawa. So sinasabi niya, kahit saan tayo magpunta, sabihin mo, kapatid mo ko ha, huwag sasabihin asawa kita. At gano'n ang nangyari nung pumunta sila dito sa Gerar, nagandahan ang hari na si Abimelech. At sinabi ng kanyang mga tauhan, siguro meron pong bagong salta, maganda. Kunin. So kinuha. At mula noon, kutakot-takot na dilubyo ang nangyari sa kanyang buhay. When a married man womanizes, a very interesting thing happens. When a married man womanizes, he pays a very high price. Pag ang isang lalaking may asawa na, ang bababae pa na hindi niya asawa, nagbabayad siya ng mahal. Ano mga ibinabayad niya? Number 1, spiritually, may bayad. He pays spiritually. God was angered in this particular story, sa verse 3, but God came to Abimelech in a dream one night and said to him, "You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman." Ipinakadiin-diin ng Diyos sa kanya. Naku, sabi ganon, patay ka. Yang kinuha mong yan, may asawa na yan. Exodus 20, verse 7, one of the 10 commandments, "You shall not covet your neighbor's wife." Hindi mo dapat pinagnanasaan ang asawa ng may asawa. Isinulat ang istoryang ito, hindi lang tayo para kwentuhan, kundi para tayo turuan, because God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Any man who takes a woman, not his wife, especially if this woman is married to another man, is as good as dead. Ang Diyos mismo, nanaog na mula sa langit, lumabas na dito kay Abimelech through a dream, sapagkat siya'y bothered dito sa nangyayari. Same today. Hindi pa naman nagbababa ng moral standards ang Panginoon mula noon hanggang ngayon. For a man to take a married woman is horribly, grossly sinful. Why? Because a married man who takes another married woman, not his wife, sins against her. Nagkakasala ang lalaki na kumukuha ng isang babaeng hindi niya asawa, lalo't asawa ng iba. Nagkakasala siya unang-una sa babaeng yon. Leviticus 20 verse 10, "If a man commits adultery with another man's wife, with the wife of his neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death." Bakit hindi nyo masabi? Natatakot yata kayo. No? If a man commits adultery with another man's wife, binabato sila hanggang mamatay. Yun ang utos ng Diyos. Of course, through Christ, yun ay napalitan ng pamamaraan. Pero hindi lang naman sa physical na mamatay ang isang tao. Adulterers die many thousand deaths, although they still physically live. Ano pa? Why is taking a married woman that's sinful? Because the man who does that also, he sins against her husband. Nakasala siya doon sa babaeng kanyang kalaguyo, nakakasala siya sa lalaking asawa ng babae na yon. Hebrews 13:4, marriage should be honored by all. By how many? By all. And the marriage bed kept pure. For God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. Hindi dapat dungisan ang higaan ng mag-asawa. Wala dapat na nakikialam, nanggugulo, nangihimasok, nagpaparumi noon. Bakit ganun pang kagrabing kasalanan niya? Kasalanan na yan. Because the man who does that sins against her child or her children. Kung ang babaeng kinalaguyo niya ay may anak o mga anak, nagkakasala din siya sa mga batang yon. Sapagkat wawasakin niya ang tahanan na yon, maapektuhan yung mga bata na yon. And the man who does this also commits sin against her church, her camp. He sins, in fact, against God Himself. Sabi ng Lord kay Abimelech, "Oo nga, hindi mo nga alam, kaya nga binigyan pa kita ng grasya. Hindi ko pinayagang galawin mo siya. I did not permit you," sabi ni Lord, "to sin against me." First and foremost, adultery is a sin against God, who is the author of morality, who is offended by immorality, and who has decreed that a woman should exclusively belong to her husband, and the husband should exclusively belong to his wife, that no one else should defile the marriage bed. Kaya sinabi niya, "I did not permit you to sin against me." May mga tao naman kasi sabihin, payag naman siya eh. Oo nga, ang Diyos, payag ba? Payag naman ako, I don't mind. Oo nga, payag ka. Pero ang Diyos, sabi, she doesn't mind. Okay lang sa kanya. Hindi naman daw siya nagigilty. Hindi lang naman siya ang involved. Hindi lang ikaw. Ang Diyos na Sa ating lahat. And any man who commits adultery, first and foremost, does it against God who is in heaven. Ngayon, kung yung lalaking gumawa nito, siya mismo'y kasado rin, may kasal din siya, may asawa rin siya, lalong gumulo at nakahalo-halo ang balat sa tinalupan. If the man is himself married, he sins against his wife. Malakay 2:14, you ask why? It is because the Lord is acting as the witness between you and the wife of your youth, because you have broken faith with her, though she is your partner, the wife of your marriage covenant. The adulterous man, married man, is also sinning against his own child or children. A man cannot be unfaithful to his wife without hurting his own children in the process and in the end. Pag nagkahiwalay silang mag-asawa dahil doon, ang mga bata ang na-orphan, sila ang napapabayaan, sila ang nalilito, sila ang nalulugi. No adulterous man can do it without hurting his own children. And sometimes the pain, the wound is forever. And of course, this adulterous man also sins against his church and against God. Ang lalaking pananagutan. Ang isang act of indiscretion actually sets into motion a never-ending series of misery. May kasalanan ka sa kanya, sa iyong kapartner in crime, may kasalanan ka sa iyong tunay na partner, may kasalanan ka sa anak niya, may kasalanan ka sa anak mo, may kasalanan ka sa asawa niya, may kasalanan ka sa asawa mo, may kasalanan ka sa lipunan, sa church. Kaya sabi ni Lord kay Abimelech, you are as good as dead. Did you know that? And that is just the spiritual. There are still many other sufferings. The man who commits this adultery pays a high price socially. Kanina, spiritually. Ngayon, socially. He gets alienated from his wife, from his children, from his wife's social circle, and everyone else who is offended. Kaya ang nangyayari, ang isang lalaki na meron siyang kalaguyo, 2 o 3 ang kanyang social sphere. Iba yung kaibigan niya, na kaibigan ng mga asawa rin niya, nilang mag-asawa. Iba yung mga kaibigan niya, na kaibigan nilang magkalaguyo. At iba yung kaibigan niyang kanya lang. Hindi pwedeng paghalu-haluin sa isang party, sa isang kasalan, sa isang lamayan. Ang liit ng mundo, nagkikita-kita sila. Nagbubunggu-bungguan. Sobrang hindi matapos-tapos na misery. Pati mga innocent people around you nagsasuffer kasi kung bisita ka, hindi niya ma-invite yung asawa mo dahil dala-dala mo yung kulasisi mo. Kung nando naman yung isa, hindi niya ma-invite siya, ngayon nahihirapan, ang gulo-gulong buhay.